Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Hussein. First time picking up a win in 3 weeks. Yeah. It wasn't as clean or confident as I was expecting. What about from your perspective?
I think, so what happened in those 3 weeks is every team has like this performance cycle where you peak and you slump and you peak and you slump. And we knew for a while that obviously we'd been peaking, we'd been improving fast, so like eventually we were going to slow down and we'd have to try to figure out what was wrong. And so we went through that, and I think that's what happened in those 3 weeks. So even though the Giants game was slow, it was very stressful, to be honest, watching from the back. I think we're starting to recover. We're starting to get some of our gameplay back, especially around Baron Vision. So I think we're fine for now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely showed game 1 a little bit more than game 2, much closer.
Yeah.
Very tense for 25 minutes. When you sat down, you said, you know, it was pressure.
Yeah.
How did you guys handle losing to Roccat 2-0? Because, you know, losing to H2K and G2, let's be frank, that's not a big surprise. But Roccat was the first upset of the split.
I think we were surprised that it was a 2-0, but leading up to those games, like the scrims hadn't been going well. We knew we were in a slump, and so we were trying to figure out like every little thing that was messing up our play. And so when you're dealing with like the small issues instead of the big macro play, there's like a lot more issues in terms of coordination and stuff. So we knew Roccat would be difficult, more difficult than like I guess people would expect. But I don't think we were expecting a 2-0. That took us by surprise. It was pretty heart-wrenching.
I think it took everybody by surprise. Yeah. I guess if there were a time to slump before playoffs would be the right time.
Happy with the timing, I guess.
Fix the problem, hopefully by quarterfinals. Before we get there, you've praised Roccat a little bit now. In terms of standings, you guys are locked in second. We know you're going to be playing against Splice. There's a few seeding battles up. Fnatic and Roccat, mathematically speaking, are not locked. But Roccat would need to take down G2 in order to unseat Fnatic. Do you think that could happen?
I mean, it's difficult, but I don't think G2 looked very good against Fnatic at all. And so it's possible. Rockat's been looking better and better, and G2 seems to be slowing down as well in their improvement. I think they can do it.
12-0 team versus the 5-0 team. We'll find out tomorrow. Over in Group B, technically speaking, first is also up for grabs. H2K could take that one away, but it would require Unicorns of Love losing to Vitality. If you were to predict the winner of that series...
I would be very surprised if that's not a 2-0 for Unicorns at this point. Like, I think Rockat's the only team, and Fnatic against G2, that's really stepped up in terms of upsets, but not in Group B.
Okay, so I mean, those are the ones that are on the fence. Now, I want to look forward, okay? Week 10, you guys play Fnatic on Sunday. That's another learning experience, I suppose. What I really want to ask you about is Splice. You guys are locked in. You will be playing against Splice in the quarterfinals. It's your debut split on the LCS stage. You've made it to quarters already. What's going to be success for you guys in this playoff run?
I think, so the goal with Misfits back in Challenger and the way we made LCS was the project is like a year-long project at the least, where the end goal is Worlds. And so Spring Split always was going to be a learning experience for us, learning how to be a team, learning how to improve, like setting up all the systems that we need. And I think we're starting to get there. We've got a lot of it down. I would hope, at least for a top 4 finish. I'm looking for a top 4 finish. I think we all expect at least that much from us. So I think we can take Splice. They've looked good recently, but I'm pretty confident.
What's the key to taking Splice down? You've got a surging Splice at the moment who seem to be in an upswing with 1 week before your series. And Misfits who just struggled to take down Giants 1 week before quarterfinals.
I think a lot of our struggles came down with like, when teams came back from IEM, they had these new jungle routes and it took us a long time to adapt to that, but we started doing it now. So even though the Giants game was close, I think both the games we pretty much had in the bag, it was just very small mistakes that were made. And I think within the week that we have to shore up those mistakes, it shouldn't be a problem. And Splice has mistakes that they make in the gameplay too. So really, neither team is perfect, but I think we're more consistent.
Well, thank you very much, Hussein. Congratulations on picking up the win today, breaking the losing streak. I'm looking forward to the match on Sunday.
Thank you.
Great. That does it for us here on the couch. We're going to head up to the analyst desk to wrap up the day with Post-Game Lobby. Awesome.
Thank you so much, QuickShot, and welcome everybody to the post-game lobby. I'm joined by Crepo and Froggen, and I heard Trevor there say awesome, and it was an awesome interview, a lot of good insights, and I feel like we can all agree with the fact that Misfits, they seem to be on track. They're doing everything right. They came from Challenger. They've improved very rapidly. Yes, they're in a bit of a slump now, but top 4 finish seems very realistic at this point.
I mean, I think we talked a bit before about them having problems with engaging and really like playing, like putting people on the right engaged champion stuff, and it just looks like they didn't really improve on that in this series.
In this series,
it's something that they could have used this series well, right? Instead, they like choose to put the players on champions they already know how to play, and they just want to get the game over with. That's fine too, but I think they could have used the practice for something
A bit
else.
of criticism there. So as for how they could have used this game, what do you think, Rafa?
Yeah, in terms of like top 4, that means they'll have to convincingly beat Splice, and I'm not quite sure in a best of 5, because like if you have a team that just recently went through a slump, if you can hit them hard like one game in a best of 5, like they may actually like tilt a tiny bit or get upset, because these guys are very new to the stage, and they must be very new to like 10's best of 5s in terms of playoffs, right?
I mean, yes, Hansama, Ignar, Alfari, but they do have Power of Evil and Kakao there, who should be an experienced backbone.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely played also played promotion tournaments to get here, but obviously it's a change up from the regular season, and I think Splice have a lot of experience in these more tenacious best of 5. So I'm definitely looking forward to that series, especially with the kind of the late season surge of Splice.
Yeah, bottom line, recent Splice versus what you've seen in the last 3 weeks from Misfits, actually it looks pretty
even. Yeah,
I would say in favor of Splice, going off most recent performances, but
it's some gameplay elements, yeah, but also like Splice, they still have these like wonky drafts where like they go back into old. It's like, you know, some teams that like to play like scaling mages for late game, and then they don't care too much, and then they fall behind in the early game, and they just say like, if we played this a tiny bit better, it would have been fine.
you guys never used to fall behind in the early game, though, which is even, right?
This is a misconception about CLG. We only had late game
We got stumped
against
so hard.
Gambit.
Yeah.
No. Only against Gambit,
that
and that's what
DreamHack.
people remember. We actually had some of the shortest games against other teams that were not Gambit, but people don't remember those games.
All I remember is that 70-minute game versus at DreamHack versus.
I mean, we had a guy
Moscow 5.
sniping with Lux all the time, you know, over and over. Poor
But-
Copenhagen Wolves.
Short games.
Yeah,
Again,
definitely short
like,
games.
It was a short game.
I'm glad we cleared that up now. We're gonna focus in on our playoff teams a bit more. So we just talked about Misfits and Splice, because that's who they will be facing in the quarterfinals. You want to take a look at H2K, because earlier they locked in a top 2 finish with a clean sweep versus Origin. And if everything kind of goes as expected, H2K will go on to play Fnatic. So from what you've seen from H2K today, gentlemen, how do you think they will perform in playoffs?
I will go first here, since Froggen's pointing at me. Of what's going to happen to H2K if Jankos's kind of early aggression moves keep failing. Because in the last like 3 weeks, it's a flash off, then he dashes in to go for the wall shot, and guess what? This guy sidesteps you and you lose both kills. And jungle and mid dying should be enough on this stage actually to really snowball games. I think if Origin had better mid-game control, they could have easily taken that win.
Yeah, I think especially with that, it looks like they just overcommit on a lot of players that they don't even really need to make. So they would just need to figure out, like, is this really a player that's like, it's gonna win us the game, or is it actually gonna throw it, right? And it seems like they have had problems with that in previous weeks as well. So it's just about like really just stop doing it. There isn't much more than that. It's just like, okay, you know this is not good, so don't do it.
And the old school H2K back in the day with Ryu also had that problem, because it basically was, once they said yes to a play, they would all just start shouting, like, go, 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 and nobody could be like, even get a word in between and be like, guys, let's stop this play. No. It would just keep on
If
trucking.
the Q hits,
The Q hits, apparently the entire team has to follow and flash in.
has to go.
And that could be a problem against Fnatic, because when the games get like a little down and dirty, I think Fnatic can actually and some team fights where they can then surprise, and then it could be a fun series, especially like if you're H2K, your favorites, you come in and suddenly you lose to like Fiddlestick support and AD Cannon. That may just hit H2K in like kind of the mental department.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting thing to trace, because of course they have a history of not doing the best in playoffs. That third place is on the books always. Do you think that's completely erased because they did so well at Worlds, or is that still a thing that's in their minds?
I think it'll definitely chase Probably at least. And also like the Worlds run can be debated. Like they played.
No.
I don't know, can it? You know, we have an analyst here.
I mean, they won against the wildcard team in the quarters, right?
Yeah.
A little more unlucky, and they would have met someone else.
I think that the results tell the tale in the end. Semi-final.
All right, semifinals at Worlds. Obviously, they're looking for a great performance here.
Yeah.
There has been kind of this, I don't know whether it's stubbornness. Like we have the 5 games on NAR from Splice last split where Probably refused to adapt. They definitely learned from that as well. I think they have a new bot lane that kind of plays different too. You know, they don't always have to play around it. Probably says very often in interviews and on the desk here as well. Nuclear and Shay are kind of more, so they can play around. An upset loss to a Fnatic in a game 1.
I mean, as the Fisho said, all of a sudden our playoffs, of course, it's not still sure Rocket can still get that spot, but either way, it's looking like our playoffs will be much more competitive as we thought a couple of weeks ago. So that's good. Let's take a look at the standings as there's only 2 days left in the EU LCS Spring split. G2 Esports has locked in that first place in Group A and the bye. The Unicorns of Love are very, very close. Of course, they have to win still versus Vitality tomorrow, but that seems pretty likely. And, well, going into the playoffs.
I'm hoping for the Rocket upset.
The upset, yeah.
Against G2, I think it would be quite a bit of hype there.
Definitely. I mean, it's possible. They took down Misfits. It's like the perfect run, the perfect story. 5 series victories in a row. All they have to do is beat G2 and break the undefeated streak. I mean, it would be a story, right?
If Expect goes to bed at 8 a.m. again, you saw that tweet. Did you see that tweet from Expect by any chance? No. They said, like, yeah, I didn't play that well today because I went to bed at 8 a.m. on the match day. Would you be allowed by Rick Fox to go to bed at 8 a.m.?
I would not. But, I mean, from all the Koreans I talk with, they just, like, always go sleep at night because they have games in the evening, too, back in Korea. We just wanted some comfort there and but I would not be allowed to. I wake up at 8 a.m. every day, you know?
So you wake up when Expect actually went to sleep, and that's the difference between Froggen and the Korean top laner.
All right, well, as we're approaching the end of the spring split and take a look back on the spring split, we also want to step a little further back down memory lane. Look what we found in the EU LCS archives. Oh my God. 2013 EU LCS summer split after the tiebreaker versus Gambit, where Crepo played Nivea in the mid lane.
No, where Froggen played Blitzcrank. And I participated in the game by playing Nivea, and I lost in CS, and then I killed him once.
I was actually checking through the VOD, and your Blitzcrank was pretty damn good. Yeah.
I actually, to this day, learned something from watching that game. From watching him play Blitzcrank, my play got better in terms of hooks, which is quite sad.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
No, it's not quite sad, because when we were in Korea and you guys were not playing League but doing other things, and I was playing League, then
this is coming from the guy who is hiking, yoga, and whatnot now these days, you know? So
team obligations. I used to play with a Super Frost in ranked 5, and I would go bot lane with Madlife, where I remember clearly a game where I played Blitzcrank and he played Corki, and he was like, what are you doing, you know? And then he showed me the game after how I could play Blitzcrank, you know? So I learned a few things from him, which I then taught Crepo back, because
so
he wouldn't listen to me when I told him. I was like,
Patient zero.
Your DreamHack, your Blitzcrank is bad, you know? He couldn't play the DreamHack against Fnatic, so we ended up losing that, and we got second instead of first.
Yeah, I've blocked all those memories. I don't remember. I just know I just sometimes played in the
Just to make you feel old, that's 4 years ago, and you guys played together even until 5 years ago. So in 2012, you guys started playing together. So
just to make you feel old, you already had a college degree back then, and you were well into your few years of interviewing.
Yeah,
so.
if you actually see the only person that looks worse in that picture, you guys both look better, and I look worse, probably from working with you for 3 years.
You look much better, Sean.
Oh God! All right. Anyway, you know, do you miss him enough to come back, actually, or is it?
It's enough for like 2 days, right?
I miss him, but I can get my Crepo in like a few days now.
Yeah,
we're gonna enjoy Berlin nightlife at least one night.
All right, well, I think that's time to move on to the schedule. The EU LCS is back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central European summertime with Vitality versus Unicorns of Love, and that game G2 versus Rocket, which is incredibly hyped. You know, I hope at least the first game is close, you know, and hope that they win, like what Fnatic did. Would be monumental, but it would give us a very interesting series. And Vitality, hey, they've been playing better since they've had not that much to play for, so is there a chance?
Yeah, actually, there's a chance to be a fun series, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think we can both know like that once the few games you can play on stage where nothing matters, they're actually really entertaining to play.
We've had some. Doesn't the game matter at all? Like
for Vitality, it doesn't. They're like they've been hard luck.
They're Echo Fox. They're in safe play.
We were actually not in safe place, by the way. We had to rely on...
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
God bless Team Liquid Rose.
Thank you very much for that. But, I mean, I have played some fun games in my time, you know? Like, I remember an Alliance versus Millennium game back then that was very bloody with some Ramos top.
Oh, yeah, it was 33
like,
kills in like...
New assist I caught for Nerf, you know?
Talk to me about LCK final, or not LCK finals rather, the OGN finals where you won 2 games in a row and you could crown yourself. You could be a legend for all time.
Best of 3. 2.5 games in a row, let's put it there. We decided to play some champions we didn't necessarily have a lot of practice on in the past. And then it went wrong.
Was that the reason?
I mean, it kind of was. We had never played Ashe and Scrims.
Yeah, but we also never played Diana.
Yes, we did. We won on the Diana games. I played Vladimir in that game, and I remember I definitely haven't played a lot of that in Scrims.
Did we?
And how we lost, I remember it. It's like
Wicked running with the GA?
No. It's literally like, you know, feed arrows down mid, and we just see it pass people until it hits someone in the back at like the tier 2 tower, and we just fucking, excuse me.
Yeah,
we just
scream go. And then we just go for it.
I'm just over here like...
And then we end up losing the team fight, then we lose Spain.
Was that the red buff steal with crit? Was that when did Snoopy run crit runes? Do you remember that one?
Oh, that was at IEM.
That was IEM.
Was there also a Cho'Gath? Do you remember that? Oh god, we're going too far.
Cho'Gath is Worlds.
He flashes in on the mid tower and oh god.
Yeah, that's Worlds. That was his one. He keeps. That's the only highlight of his career. He keeps like, but that play, man. Every highlight.
You know what happened for like more than a year before we fixed it, and it started at OGN finals. Is that Snoopy always loses his red buff to the enemy AD because he refuses to smite it. And then sometimes Crepo also ends up with the red buff because he auto attacks once too much.
Yeah,
don't blame the crit. You should have expected the 1% crit.
He ran 1% crit rune and then he crit the buff as my auto attack is flying, and then I end up with banana red buff.
So now you can apologize.
Apologize?
All right.
Anyways, done.
I actually really enjoyed this going down memory lane with you guys. It's really cool to have you on the desk today, Frog, and I hope you enjoyed.
I did.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But for us, though, it is time to log off for the night. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and be sure to tune in tomorrow with the playoffs just around the corner. You won't want to miss it. Have a great night.